It was recently published that in 2019, we have 1 billion people over age 60. By 2050, it's estimated that that number more than doubles to 2.1 billion people over age 60, with lifespans increasing. The question is, and other research that was published in 2022 that looked at what percentage of people are metabolically healthy, less than 12%. So chronic disease is a big issue. We're aging as a population, and chronic disease is on the rise. But I'm here for you because I'm your girlfriend doctor. And today we're going to be talking about ways to improve the quality of life, longevity, the quality of aging, and what we can do to fight that. And I'm really excited to introduce you guys to Patricia. Patricia Ryan is a co-founder and chief wonder maker at Wonderfeel. She's a longevity-focused wellness, which is a longevity-focused wellness bioscience company based in San Francisco. And what's fascinating about spending time getting to know Patricia is, number one, she's committed to raising women up in health and in entrepreneurship and in business, and really to spotlight them, as her team is a majority women team, which is amazing. And also just the concept of bringing science into focused areas that impact women's health. And she's very creative. She's known as the Chief Wonder Maker. She is creative, and she also was involved in Burning Man. So I'm going to welcome Patricia before we get into, today we'll talk about NAD and NMN and some of the science for lifespan. But before we do, let's talk about Burning Man.
Okay. Well, wow, Dr. Anna, that was such a, wow. You brought in so many elements of my past. I feel like I've lived 5 lifetimes. So happy to talk about Burning Man. That's one of my favorite things.
JJ's been trying to get me to go. Dave Asprey, Sarah Gottfried, they have been regulars at Burning Man, and they've been trying to get me to go for a while now.
Well,
just haven't done it.
Yeah, if you're interested, you're already halfway there.
Yeah.
So it's Burning Man. Well, I'll tell you, one Burning Man, I was out there and there was a journalist that was asking questions of people. He was really trying to find people, it's like middle of a dust storm. And I was isolated. He found me and he's like, I'm wondering, we're just hanging out. He's wondering if you could answer a question for me in just a few words. Can you tell me, what is Burning Man? And I was just stunned. Like, how can I sum up Burning Man in just a few words? So I thought about it for a minute, and it occurred to me, I'm like, oh, I got it. Yeah. It's a total reconditioning of the human spirit. It is changes like that. That's the tag phrase, but there's so much to it. It changed my perspective on how I look at life, how I engage with the world, kind of reversing this, there's no commerce on Playa. There's no exchange of money. It's a gifting economy. It's a gifting community. So it's all about being of service. It's about hard work. It's about pushing your limits, like testing, like what can I do? How can I contribute? And the freedom to just be as expressive as you want. Everybody else is doing that.
Oh, so yeah. I have seen I've heard some great stories. And I think, like, with what I've heard about Burning Man, so it's like, what is it, 100,000 people come together in the desert, and they actually did a exhibit at Oakland Museum in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So I had seen the Oakland Museum exhibit. Yeah. And just the construction for a time. It has a time and a space, and then it's gone.
Yes, it's insane. Well, I will say it feels like 100,000 people, but it's more like, I think at its peak there was maybe 80,000.
Okay.
And it fluctuates. It's between 50s to 60 and around there. So it's a massive amount of people that come and build this entire city that you can see from space, and they tear it all down.
Yeah.
On Monday or on Tuesday after it's all done. And it's just, it's incredible the passion that goes in it. And not everything gets burned, by the way.
Okay.
There's a lot of conscientiousness around that. There's some rituals. So, but they break it all down. They bring it home, and a lot of this, some of the most beautiful art I've ever encountered in my life is on the playa. And these artists put so much work into it, and they pack it away, and then it goes into a container, and it's just stored. It's a shame.
It needs to be on
It
it.
needs to be out because
Display.
every year you've got more art and more art and more art, and just
Wow.
it's fantastic. It's just a spectacle.
I think like the creative expression plus the age range of people, you have all ages
Mhm.
there, right? It's like,
Babies.
oh my
Oh,
gosh,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
families, I know YPO, the Young Presidents Organization, has flown a group out there in big RVs, and then you've got the posh ones,
Yeah.
you've got the tenors, and it's
Yeah. And all there under a singular kind of mission. There's the 10 principles, and I'm not gonna name them all here. You can look up the 10 principles of Burning Man.
hmm,
And they're all there with that same thing in mind. I'll say one of them is radical self-expression.
mhm.
Radical, self-reliance is another one. Those are like two key
That's
ones.
key: self-expression, self-reliance, and getting to know yourself, like without having the boundaries or the limitations or having to play a role, so to speak.
Right. It's
Yeah,
is be
interesting.
exactly who you are, or be someone else, whatever
Yeah,
it
who
is.
you want to
You
be.
know, it's just like bring
Creative expression.
participate.
Just bring it.
Participate. It's about immediacy. It's about like don't think about it, just do it.
Just, and it like in a way, so that'll be like next on my to-do list. But this summer I did the Camino de Santiago, which
Mm.
is a pilgrimage in Spain, and I did 150 kilometers of it, which was transformative. And it was just me showing up each day, no expectations, no pretenses, and then being self-reliant, having to rely on myself, my physical abilities, and lose some of the ageism that I had been
Yeah.
carrying around with me, that I
Yeah.
am stronger than I think. And I
Yeah.
can do these bucket list items, or I can do these challenges, or
Yeah.
these have adventures
Hmm.
that really nourish me.
Yeah.
Now, and with my audience, with my girlfriend doctor community, and those of you that are listening, I know from we're talking and in my Magic Menopause program, hearing from many of you at different ages, that sometimes there's the sense that I'm too old to do that now, or I'm worried about aging because I see my parents with dementia, or my mom died of heart disease, or worried about cancer. Like this longevity, there's a fear, and there can be an underlying fear to longevity. So I want to, really completely transform that discussion so that we can, as we said with JJ's interview, age powerfully. I would say age powerfully and gracefully. Got to get my graceful in there. She's like, no graceful aging. You got to be powerful. I'm like, but power is graceful. So can I be both? And anyway, that's an argument with me and JJ. So we talk about, one of the things that we use in our clinic to help support mitochondrial health, cellular health, and regeneration, and in the longevity space to improve lifespan, is NAD.
Mhm.
And we talk about the benefits of NAD, that has been well researched for over what, 20 years now?
Over 20 years, yeah.
Over 20 years. And your company has really got into creating pathway to make more NAD, to bring it into the cell, to create healthy aging and improve life, the quality of life. Because the length of life, that's one thing. It's the quality of life that makes the difference.
Yes, that's the point that we're trying to make. It's really important to remember we're not trying to make you live to your 500. We're not trying to make you live longer. We already figured that out. We're living twice as long as we did in 100 years ago. So we got that part figured out, but we're not living better.
Mhm.
And so we're increasing your health span. We want you to live like this till your expiry date,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So that's the idea. We want people to be radically self-reliant until they are 100 years old.
Yeah. Oh, I saw this great post. A woman who had just passed away at 108 years old started running marathons at 100, or running races. I don't know if they were marathons, but started running at 100. And so you have these beautiful images of this beautiful silver haired, white haired woman and, medium build and just like running. And, I think that's quality of life, like how we create that energy so that we can be self-reliant. We're not relying on other people. And
Yeah.
what I am concerned about, considering only 12.1% of Americans are metabolically healthy, as confirmed by the recent data, and we're doubling the amount of people over age, doubling the amount of people over age 60, that the burden is going to fall on my children's children, or
Yeah.
my children, that is
Yeah.
worrisome. Plus, again, that we need to ask for help, that we're not self-reliant. So some of
Yeah.
why did you choose to look at NAD for this? And what are some of the things that you suggest to
So,
implement?
well, what Wonderfeel is a wellness brand. We look at new innovations in science and wellness that can bring health back into the consumer's hands, right? It's about avoiding this system that we're in that is inefficient, doesn't really work for us. That this healthcare or sick care system, we're trying to make it bring the health back into the consumer's hands. So that is through science. Science is accelerating so fast.
Mhm.
Um, and it's not that like that gap is getting closer and closer and closer. And we're trying to be part of that, bridging the gap between science and the consumer, without, 15 years of clinical trials.
Yeah, or
And
waiting for
yeah,
the physician to prescribe it. Yeah.
yeah. So how do we come across, NAD precursor? This is what's happening now. This is the biggest discovery. So this is something that we wanted to bring to consumers. And so we started working on this, developing Wonderfeel Younger in probably 20, late 2021, early 22, and had a pilot product, and our final formulation is this more, uh, I would say, bioavailable, but it's not necessarily that. It's this patented uh, product with more ingredients that support NMN on its path where it needs to go to make more NAD.
So explain that. So so it's combined with trans resveratrol, some olive leaf extract. Is that right? It's like
Yeah, so that's
olive.
the hydroxytyrosol, which is it's a mouthful, but that is hydroxytyrosol is a polyphenol, and that is uh, the molecule. It's this component in olive oil, the good olive oils that makes the Mediterranean diet so good. So it makes, it's very healthy, and
Mhm.
people in eating this Mediterranean diet, and so that's what we brought into this formula, because it is this powerful antioxidant
Yeah.
that is working to kind of, uh, I mean, I like to break it down so that people can
Yeah.
understand.
Go
So
ahead.
this is like kind of clearing the path so that the NMN is more effective to get to the cell. So yeah, that's one of the ingredients. There's a lot more ingredients, but I'll let
But
you.
yeah, so it gets so that it is absorbed when it needs to be absorbed versus broken down early on in the digestive tract.
Well, that's yeah. So excuse me. Um, it's not about a time release necessarily. Anything taken orally, if taken properly, you've got your uh, oil-based supplements, and you've got your water-based supplements, and so there is a science to it. But it's can I start over here? Can we edit?
Yeah, of course. Of course. Yeah. No, you're doing great
Yeah,
though. And
I don't know about I didn't know
I'll
how
go
to
back to
answer
the
this.
beginning later.
Yeah, yeah. This As far as how it gets there, oral administration is the most effective that we know of until science tells us otherwise. It's what all the scientific institutions and researchers are using in their clinical trials. It's oral administration. So it's not necessarily about like getting it past the stomach barrier. It's about what is it doing in the pathways to get to where it needs to go in the cell. So there are specific pathways in the body that certain nutrients and molecules are traveling. So that's a different kind of approach.
And that's what we want to get it there to the cell so that NMN's at the cell and is converted into NAD within the cell.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about the benefits of NAD. And
Sure.
you know, and I want to definitely, we'll come back to your menopause journey
Yeah.
and how you've used NMN as part of this too. So first, benefits of NAD in general, why we want our body to make more NAD.
Yeah. So this is your body makes NAD. So this is a mouthful. It's nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide.
I'm glad you said it because
Yeah.
I always forget what it means.
It's a long one. So we like the acronym NAD. Your body makes a ton of this until you're about 30. It's just like in the billions every second. It's a constant NAD is being produced at like such a rapid rate all the way until you're about 30 years old. And then it starts to slowly decline. You don't notice it right away until like maybe you're 40 and you've been playing tennis and you're like, oh, my knees kind of hurt after that session, whereas that was never a thing before. So these are some of the body's parts that are starting to break down, and it's because of that lower NAD production. So NAD is responsible for the regeneration and the health of your cells. And it's the thing that like your liver regenerates itself every
3 months, was
3
it? Like,
months.
yeah, like
Every
that's
3 months,
crazy. New
which is
liver.
insane. But that's NAD at work. So it's constantly regenerating your cells and making sure that your organs are operating at high, optimal level. And so as we age, it's some of those things that start to break down. Our heart, is like even simple things.
Well,
Like
like an ovarian function, right? Because that's
very,
coinciding with ovarian function. Ovaries are rich in mitochondria,
right,
rich in NAD,
yeah,
and very sensitive too to toxins, etc. So that kind of coincides with a hormonal decline.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, and it's we're pre-programmed to shut all these things off, right? That's just nature. It's just how we're built. So these are all natural, human functions of the female body. Men experience is similar but different, like so these are things that we can change or supplement and kind of the breakthrough in science is that we don't have to suffer from organ failure, and we can increase our NAD production and allow our body to be the health, just the healthy thing that it was when you were younger. And this is are all natural things that your body is used to doing. It's not like some crazy intervention. We're just telling your body to work like it did when it was younger.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, giving it the nutrients that it needs to make more. So when what's interesting is like in our 30s, this time clock, I'm trying to, put it all together from the hormonal perspective and especially as it coincides with menopause. But in our mid 30s, well, in our mid to late 20s, DHEA, a precursor to testosterone and estrogen, starts to decline. In our 30s, we see that decline in progesterone. And with that, what's really interesting, progesterone is necessary to keep tryptophan from degrading. And one of the ways, there are other ways to make NAD, but one of the ways to make NAD is through the tryptophan pathway. And so that's fascinating to me. So as progesterone levels start to decline, you have less tryptophan. So hence other metabolites from tryptophan are serotonin and melatonin. You get anxiety, difficulty sleeping, all of that's happening. And then you get cellular breakdown. and further, like that biologic clock is continuing to tick. So I think it's fascinating that if we can, the longer we can keep healthy ovarian function, the longer we can keep healthy adrenals, et cetera, organ function, the healthier we're going to be in as we age, right? That leads into healthier aging.
Yeah.
So adding in those, I mean, NAD has so many benefits from that sense of, like you said, regeneration, cellular regeneration, repair, making energy. Yeah.
Yeah. So the energy is key. That
Energy is key.
energy is key. If the cell doesn't have energy, then it gets tired and dies off. And its energy is required for the mitochondria. And I want to talk more about the mitochondria and like how important that is later on, because it ties into another story. But yeah, it's that energy production. But let me just break down NAD in like a really base way.
Thank you.
Or like what it's doing. So or what's happening, why your cells need it. So basically your DNA is constantly sending off a script to all your cells saying, do this, do that. And when they have energy, they read it properly from top to bottom. They're like, okay, I'm going to do exactly that. I got it because I got the energy to do it. But as that NAD production starts to decline, the cells are a little tired and they get the script and they're like, oh, okay, I'll read it, but maybe just halfway, right? And that's when the cells start to, like, they don't get all the information, and that's when they dysfunction, and that's where different, conditions can start happening, cellular, like cancers and all this is because they don't have enough energy to read that script in its entirety. So we need to keep fueling those cells so that they can recognize what they're supposed to do and keep your organs and everything healthy.
That repair signaling. And
yeah,
that's so NAD and also NAD metabolites, right? Like NADH is energy. I mean, like that is part of the, creating energy, how it works in the mitochondria. And so be very, what are you seeing as a result of NMN supplementation? What are you hearing? What have you experienced?
yeah.
How has it helped?
So there's a lot of people respond and saying my skin, my overall like just appearance, my nails are growing faster, my hair's growing. Men notice that the gray in their beard is going away. So we get more of an immediate response from men, obviously, because this is growing faster on their face. But also women are seeing natural hair color come back. So it's all of
I
these.
just have to pause because, one of the things that you realize when you're growing older, I mean, like when you get gray hair down there, I mean, unless you're, continuously Brazilian or bikini waxing, but anyway, but that gray hair, I mean, it's something. I'm like liking my sparkles and stuff, but it's one of those signs. Okay, well, what's happening as a reflection of what's happening on the inside too. But
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. Yeah. And let's not have any shame about it.
No, it's a shocker though. And you're like, what? Can that happen? I was shocked, and I'm like OBGYN. So
right. But let's talk more about that.
yeah.
It's like,
So good hair. That's important. So
yeah.
how is it working to improve hair growth and
So hair growth. So this is something that's really interesting. Hair growth for sure. It when you're talking about nails growing faster, skin elasticity improving, like but glowing. Like we have customers saying I don't have to wear makeup anymore, and the hair growth. I'll tell you my personal story, but we've got a lot of these to support it. These are anecdotal stories. I would say maybe at a 2-year mark of using younger NMN, I noticed that I thought I had hair breakage. I had all these like kind of half-length hairs. I was like, oh man, like, and I was going through another illness at the time, which we'll talk about later. But I was like, oh, I've got all this hair breakage. This is terrible. I don't know what to do. Kind of ignored it, busy with our company. And then I don't know, like maybe a month later, I was at the stylist for the first time because during the pandemic, we didn't have that opportunity. And she's asking me, she said, oh, you got all these baby hairs. What's going on? Like, How are you growing these? I was like, oh, it's not breakage. It's all new
Mm,
growth,
new growth.
new growth. And so I shared this whole story with her about our product, and she immediately went online and bought it. So my hair is out of control. I can't, it's thicker than, it's as thick as it's been, like
Nice.
when I was, 20 years old. So this is the stories, these are types of stories that we're hearing from our customers after a certain period of time. It's a long-term supplement. It's not, this is a everyday long game. It's
Mhm,
it's
mhm.
you're supplementing now what you had in your youth. So it's not just, you can't just take it and expect like to turn everything back on again. It's how your body naturally made NAD. You are now supplementing that.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. Yeah, no, I love that, and that's like turning the clock backwards. Again, giving yourself nutrients in a safe way.
Yeah.
And so we talk about hair growth, and what about hormonal health and menopause health?
Yeah. So and and a men, and it doesn't act directly on, like, for instance, like progesterone or estrogen. It's not, but it's acting in the background to support those things. But as far as I can tell you a story about how I experienced menopause, and for signs of it. Um, th- is that where is
Yeah,
that what you want to hear
please.
about?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely. And
So
what was your
yeah,
experience?
my experience was that I stopped getting my periods maybe 4 years ago. Um, and then maybe a few months after that, I started to get hot flashes after
Mhm.
breakfast, and they were very brief. And I was like,
Not
okay,
night sweats, but breakfast
breakfast.
flashes.
Yeah. And I think it was that first meal of the day. Something was going on. I was attributing it to something else. It wasn't severe, but then it was sitting in the car, and all of a sudden my back would get really hot. And I was like, thinking I had the seat warmer on. So I'd
Mm.
always check that. I'm like, oh, no, 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 it's not that. So, but that would also be very brief, only for a few minutes. But that was the first signs. And I felt like, oh, okay, this could get worse. And I recall a story of my, my sister. I have three sisters, and I'm one of them. Oh my God, they're great. She just would, when get a hot flash, and she would strip everything off with the bra and everything. It
Mhm.
was like, I'm not dealing with this. And, very,
Traumatic, yeah.
very hands-on, just like, I'm taking the upper hand.
Right.
So I recalled these stories. I'm like, oh, this is what's going on. This is gonna get worse. All right. So, and then probably, uh, 6 months to a year later, we had our first pilot product of before it was younger NMN,
Mhm.
before it was the patented formula. We made
And a membership.
a different version, and we started taking that, and my symptoms started to subside. Not entirely, not 100%. And then shortly after that, I would say 9 months to a year after that, we had our younger NMN, and you know beta run.
Uh-huh.
And so I started using that much longer than or earlier than when we released it. And since I was using that, I had zero symptoms.
Zero menopausal symptoms.
Zero.
Everything went away. Yeah.
Zero. Like nothing.
Did you
And
give
so
it to your sister?
I did. I gave it to all my sisters.
Nice. I have 4 daughters. I
Yeah.
resonate with the 4 sisters.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that is something, it's funny because when there's something that's not happening,
Mhm.
you don't really pay attention to it. So I I haven't spent a lot of time studying menopause and
Yeah.
all these things. And this is your, thank God, your wheelhouse, and this is something you can speak to. But what I do know is that our product works in a way that is helping women not experience such severe signs of menopause.
Mhm.
And that also comes to, things like the brain health, how it's,
Memory and mood. So that
memory.
study that came out was interesting because anything that increases nitric oxide, we like it. Maca is rich in arginine; it increases nitric oxide. NMN produces increase in nitric oxide mediated vasodilation. So there's a study that looked at Cialis and or Viagra and long-term use improves longevity. And the question is, okay, the side comments are, well, is it because they're more sexually active and hence that improves longevity and quality of life? But like in the end result, like, does that matter? We want to have high quality intimacy and high quality sexual function
Yeah.
and all of that good stuff. But the nitric oxide definitely is associated. Improving nitric oxide vasodilation is a key marker for brain health, longevity, and yeah.
Yeah. So, so I want to talk a little bit about NMN and the brain, but not necessarily NMN alone. A lot of this stuff I will talk about NMN, but I'm going to bring it back to our formula because we have some really unique ingredients.
Yeah.
So when it comes to brain health, our younger formula it has something called ergothioneine in it, and we'll call it ergo for short.
Okay, good.
And that's the molecule in mushrooms, I think, that's giving it kind of its rise. Ergo is found in very trace amounts in mushrooms.
Okay.
It's found in higher concentrations in something like porcinis, lion's mane, cordyceps, things that are generally harder to cultivate, but they have proven to be significant for helping the brain in patients, people with dementia, Alzheimer's. So it's being studied right now in that capacity and with good results. But in like in common practice, we have a friend who told us a long time ago, yeah, my mom has Alzheimer's, and so we give her porcini mushrooms with her breakfast, and that day she's pretty clear.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
there's something interesting
And ergothioneine.
about ergothioneine. It's also a serotonin activator, which we can talk a little bit about. I'm not the science. I'm going to leave to our doctors and scientists. But the ergo working alongside NMN is really fascinating. So the results that we're seeing on brain health is incredible. The clarity people are getting. So it's helpful when oh geez, where did I have this?
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah. Um so NMN on its own, it's activating protective pathways in our cells. And it's doing this through NAD dependent proteins called serotonin. So these are things that are in your body that are protecting these pathways and making sure things work properly and where your nutrients are coming in. So NMN can improve also blood flow to the brain, and it keeps oxygen and nutrients flowing up there. And that's huge because the brain is such a high energy organ, it needs that NAD.
Yes.
So as that NAD starts to decline, and with this hormonal disruption, we're suffering from, like just simple things like, where's my keys? Where I put my keys, and you may have just sat them down. And, when you get all that back using something like this, you have the clarity, it's like, where are my keys? Now I know exactly where I put my keys. And these are not disruptors anymore in our day and our flow. So yeah, NMN is working in a way to, just like your organs, these pathways are also part of this network that needs energy.
Yeah. And if you look at, as we age, also the issue with aging with women and dementia, that it affects, over 2 times to 3 times as many women as men, specifically related to Alzheimer's disease. And I think that, we know that it is related to hormonal insufficiency, estrogen and progesterone decline. And the fact that, our brain's ability to use fuel, especially glucose as fuel as we age, is hormone dependent. But yet when we shift to ketones, that really helps.
Yeah.
And using NAD and improving nitric oxide is one of the medical indications why we use it in our clinic in our patients with dementia and patients with high toxicity and mitochondrial disease, neurologic disorders for the entire nervous system is a reason to do, this higher concentration. NAD IV, I've done it. Like I threw up the first time. You've got to do it slow. You cannot be in a rush. You cannot open up that IV line. I'm telling you, it was horrible. Like, and the feeling was really interesting, but it's really therapeutic for your body. You have to go very, very slow. And IV NAD is an option, definitely with severe disease. It is something that clinics that are functional medicine clinics, IV clinics can integrate into your care. And another way is intramuscular injections, and there's, or subcutaneous injections. Again, a little painful, costly. You have to inject yourself a very short acting. That's another way that NAD is being administered. On patches, also, there's NAD patches that you can use to load NAD. The key thing is consistency on a daily basis. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk about NMN, number one, based on the science, that helps improve NAD production and the benefits of NAD for longevity, for metabolic disease, for mitochondrial dysfunction, for like all the diseases of aging. Improving NAD helps us get, you know, efficient, effective, therapeutic results. And I have had clients come into my office say, Dr. Anna, how can I get more? I mean, you were hearing about NAD and the integrative world and the longevity space and the biohacking space. You're hearing about it a lot because, like, how can I get more NAD, or what NAD supplement should I take? And so that's what made me really research into what did I want to bring into my, you know, vitamin cabinet. I'm very selective. I'm very selective. I don't like to take pills. I don't like to have too much. So I'm
Yeah.
very selective. I'm like, what's the, what works? And for me to share, I've been using the NMN for a while now, and definitely feel like I'm having less gray. I definitely see that in myself. I'm like, wait, I have to keep painting in my gray. I do have less, and like it's not back here at all. I don't color back here. So that's been an interesting finding. My hair is great. Continue to do everything, adding in, layering in things to have healthy hair, because that is a marker of health on the inside. So when it's shiny, and then when skin's healthy. I actually had a client in my office yesterday. She's in her 70s. And honest to God, like her skin was that like of, a woman in her 40s. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
like powerful, we see powerful regenerative changes, and versus, I've seen women in their 40s that look like they had skin in their 70s. So it depends on where you're at, but doing things that help on a regular basis, discipline, it's practices and discipline that
Yeah.
help really support what's happening. But aging, inflammation, anxiety, mood disorders, joint issues, etc., you have to also look, don't just attribute it to aging. You got to dig into the underlying reason what's causing that. And Patricia, you have a story about that goes right to this,
I
right to
do.
this.
I do want to speak though quickly about the NAD administration. Um, I think it's really important to I love how you said, NAD IV is good for serious
Yeah.
conditions. Under it's not that's not a practical way to get it. It's not
It's
that accessible.
expensive,
It's super expensive, but
takes 5 hours.
yeah, but it's also not how the body makes it.
Mhm.
So, and also we don't NAD doesn't taking it directly, we know orally doesn't work, because there's no pathway for NAD to get into the cell to make NAD, because it's not that's this it operates in the reverse. NAD is something that's in the cell. It doesn't want to get out of the cell. So there's direct precursors to making that NAD,
Mhm.
and they use specific pathways to get there. So NMN being the direct precursor to
Mhm.
making NAD. So the cell recognizes only that. It only recognizes nicotinamide mononucleotide. And when it sees it, it grabs it, pulls it in, and it makes NAD. It's super happy and it's full of energy. That really is the only way for NAD to be generated in the cell from something being administered
Totally.
orally.
Yeah.
So we don't know enough about IV treatments. We certainly don't know anything about a patch being effective. So until there's clinical trials that say this works, I would stick with what the clinical trials are using for daily maintenance.
Well, I think that the concept, the daily consistent needs to help support the other area that we were using NAD in is long COVID. Long haul COVID is one, infertility secondary to COVID is another. So, I mean, there's so many indications scientifically that indicate why we want to improve NAD levels.
Yeah. Yeah, but to your question of, oh my gosh, yes, I had an experience with using younger enema in our product, but also, just like I'm a biohacker. I
Mhm.
think you are too.
Yeah.
You make biohacking products, which is awesome. And I think the more we can biohack, the better. So I ended up getting a parasite. It's something called Entomoeba histolica. Very rare. It's not common in the US. It's found in like the Middle East and Africa, some parts of South America. So it didn't know that I necessarily had it. I got sick immediately. I think I got it on the plane on the way back from Turkey. And I got home and within hours I was throwing up and I couldn't eat anything for 4 days. But then
Mm.
I eventually got better slowly. I had to go to Burning Man in 2 weeks. So I was getting ready for
Powering through,
powering
powering
through.
through.
Powering through is what I do, but I have this, a lot of unbound energy now because I'm using our product and I'm bouncing off the walls with energy. So my recovery was quick. But it turns out I wasn't actually recovering. So this parasite started living in my upper intestine and also distributing itself around my body, depositing all these cysts. And over the course of I didn't get diagnosed for 7 months because our medical system isn't looking for that. So
Mhm,
I think it's really important for women because there might be some weird stuff going on with you
mhm.
that your doctors can't identify. And it's just like, take it over, ask for an ova stool test.
Yeah, ova and parasite stool
Ova
test.
and parasite stool test is simple. It's so simple. But what happened to me is, we were doing a lot of traveling with the company, doing trade shows and conferences, and I was speaking and doing, all these things. But meanwhile, I'm packing to get ready to go, trying some clothes on, and nothing's fitting. It's all falling off. And I'm like, oh, geez, my clothes don't fit me anymore. This is frustrating. And after a few months, I don't know, 4 or 5 months, I remember just looking up, why can't I gain weight? And it was all I could get out there was, you're just not eating enough. You need more
Mm.
calories. So I, started eating more calories and more like, calorie rich foods and still nothing. I continued to lose weight.
But you
Um,
had aches and pains and
well, not necessarily aches and pains, but what was happening is I was not dealing with situations in a very rational way.
mm,
My anxiety had increased so much. Uh, I was impatient. I was questioning everything. I started to go into these conspiracies and like my brain just wasn't
mhm,
doing what should do. It wasn't that what I was accustomed to. And the people around me noticed that. So what was happening is this parasite was stealing all my nutrients. I wasn't gaining weight and it would steal all my food. So it was directly affecting my mitochondria. So my mitochondria was suffering because it wasn't getting the nutrients it needs from
mm,
healthy whole foods or any food really. It just wasn't, the calories weren't going in a way that my body was able to process them, but I was eating a ton. Uh, so much so that, towards the end, my partner, who's my husband, Baran, bless his heart, he was making me 4 full meals a day and bringing them to me. And at this, I was eating them all. I was just I could eat anything. Oh, it's great. I was eating like whole cakes
And still losing weight. That's
Wait,
unbelievable.
yeah,
Yeah.
but then
Like who wants a parasite right
yeah,
now? No,
yeah.
we don't want a parasite.
No, we
We don't want
don't.
to go there.
Oh, we don't, because I almost died.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh my God, maybe it's all this biohacking, all this healthy stuff I'm doing. Let me stop taking my supplement. I was doing like a patch of something, and then that was not the cause. Um, so I stopped doing everything, but that's when I got super sick.
Mm.
Super sick. I could not get out of bed. I was carrying a fever, still hungry and eating like crazy. But I was down to, I know, just over 100 pounds.
Yeah, and you say you're 5'9".
I'm five
So
foot
that's like
nine.
that is like you were worried that you were anorexic. Yeah.
Yeah, and that
So
was
you were seeing you eat everything.
it was the
You're
self-conscious
eating
part.
everything.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
people think I have an eating disorder, so I've got
Mhm.
this like self-esteem issue going on, and but also like so my brain was in this like fight or flight all the time because it's constantly trying to fight my system, my
Mhm.
immune
Mhm.
system's trying to fight something that it doesn't know how to fight. So your immune,
Mm.
you can't naturally fight your a parasite like that. You need an intervention. So but what was happening because of our product, because it was still getting to where it needs to go in the cell, I was still creating a lot of energy and I still had NAD. So I was able to get through things
Right, right.
without,
Crashing
without
completely.
crashing. So that was real proof that our product is doing what it's supposed to do. Um, Finally figured it out. I had to go through 2 courses of treatments to get rid of it. And I finally started to recover. And it wasn't until like maybe 6 months later that my brain really started to recover. Like okay, I can write a sentence again. Like I was like, these are the types of things that when your mitochondria is everything's deficient, you're not getting the nutrients that you need,
Mhm.
your brain is affected,
Mhm.
so affected. So I just, I want to bring this issue to a larger platform at some point when I have the time, because it's just something that, maybe not this particular parasite, but there's all these other
Yeah.
parasites. And have you done shows about this before?
We have talked about parasites
Good.
certainly, and one of the things that I do on all my patients and I recommend to my clients is functional stool analysis.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, functional stool analysis because it's, when you do see a parasite, that's a big aha moment. Now,
Yeah,
often it's sometimes you don't see it. You can do a ONP test or ova and parasite test and it be negative. You can do a functional stool analysis and it be negative. So there is arguments to do very holistic periodic parasite cleansing. And so we'll
yeah,
be talking about more on the show on another episode. But
great.
yeah, I mean it's an important issue. And we think, okay, our how do you defend yourself enough on that? So how are you continue to travel
Yeah,
internationally?
I
How are
do.
you preventing another
Yeah.
or checking regularly?
Well, well, I have my eye on it
Yeah.
now.
You know your symptoms
I
and you
know
know
my
what
symptoms. Yeah, I know what to do. But my recovery from this was, I think, a lot faster because of the lifestyle, the foods I'm eating, and because of our product. I was able to recover really quickly. At least physically. I'm still putting some more weight back on. I started at, I think I was probably, I don't know, 40 pounds before this.
wow.
So it actually gave me an opportunity to be like, okay, wait, maybe I need to change some of the foods I'm taking in because I'm deficient. But but yeah, I'm still traveling, and I know what to look for. If you get sick, if you throw up, for a day, maybe it's not food poisoning.
Right.
Maybe it's something else.
Right. Have that suspicion.
Yeah.
Have that suspicion.
Yeah, and do the test because the
Yeah.
test is easy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's easy. It's
Yeah.
stool analysis.
Yeah.
And so with and your NMN younger, Wonderfeel younger product with what with this combination, can you talk about how you chose the other antioxidants to combine with it? Also, and what they are, what they do?
Yeah. So it's NMN is the main component in younger. And then there we have hydroxytyrosol, which you talked about a little earlier,
From the olive
from
oil.
olives, ergothioneine from mushrooms.
Mhm.
And then there is resveratrol. And then we have vitamin D, which is super important. So it's 100% of what your body needs according to the,
RDA. Yeah.
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 So, you get better vitamin D3 from getting outside. And,
Yeah.
and we don't, as we age, we don't take in as much on our skin.
Mhm.
So, let's cut back on some of the sunscreen and just get out there and try and get outside. But we want that in there. D3, we know through science, trials, it creates stem cells in the gut,
Mhm.
helps with your microbiome. It
Mhm.
helps with, like making sure that your gut lining is healthy and receiving supplements in
Mhm.
the way they're supposed to, and
Mhm.
all the nutrients.
And plus it's the, fat soluble, so it helps with transportation, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, that's the core formula, and they work synergistically. We have resveratrol, which is a serotonin activator. It turns out ergothioneine is a serotonin activator,
Which our brains like that.
which our brains
Yes.
love that.
Yes.
And so they work in support of the NMN, because NMN is good traveling through these pathways, which also these serotins are along that pathway. So when you're activating the serotins and using these antioxidants to like remove all these uh, you know toxicity in your body, then you have a better metabolic kind of pathway and cellular pathway for this NMN to get where it needs to go
Mhm.
to make NAD.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And so how much should people take of this?
We
Then,
recommend 2 capsules a day, which is 900 milligrams of NMN along with the other ingredients. And we don't put the other ingredients there as window dressing, not just to have them there. Like
yeah.
we're trying to bring this to an audience in a way that it actually works. We want it to work. Some of the ingredients are really expensive, like ergothioneine. When we first started making this product, it was $100,000 a kilo, a
Wow.
wholesale.
Wow.
And the price continues to come down as more people become aware. It's supply and demand, as
Yeah.
simple rules. NMN itself, if you wanted to use NMN, like say 5 or 6 years ago, it would cost you $5,000 a month. These are ingredients that are, new on the scene.
Yeah.
We are trying to find, what are the things that our body is going to respond to in a way that will help our longevity.
Yeah.
And we don't put them in as window dressing because they wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And so we put the right amount in there to do its job. So they're probably higher milligrams than you're used to seeing in maybe some other products. I think, a long time ago, if you started, did you try Animen before ours?
No.
No, okay. So I
I
would,
tried niacinamide. That was,
okay,
yeah.
yeah. Not a direct precursor, but
No.
a similar category.
And we
Uh,
were looking at, okay, for our long COVID, what's something they can be doing on a daily basis to restore
yeah,
mitochondria.
okay,
And so in our work and our research, we're looking at it for that aspect to support the
yeah,
immune system to support the mitochondria, to reverse some of the inflammatory changes associated. So we knew that if we could increase NAD, the body's production of NAD,
yeah,
that's powerful. IVs, not many people can tolerate them.
yeah,
And again, like there's a time and a place. I don't want anyone to get that severe that you need to be on long-term IVs for sure, because I mean, I did it 2 times. Well, maybe I
yeah,
did it 3 times. The second and third time I did very, very slow, but seriously, like it is, you have to pay attention. So what can we do on a daily basis that's going to work at the cellular level to create that regeneration and repair so that now we have more resilience in general
yeah,
to the next virus or exposure or bacteria or parasite that our
yeah.
body is exposed to. So we want to create that. We wanted to create that. So we tried, I went through a lot of different products and
Mm,
supplements and trying different ways
yeah.
to get NAD that made it accessible for me and my patients.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and you had access to the information of where to go, what to do. Like, you're a science nerd.
Yeah.
So this is fantastic. But this NAD direct, NMN is definitely one of those things that fit in that category. You can't make the medical claim.
No.
It's not a pharmaceutical. This is not a drug.
Right.
This is something your body makes. It'll never be a drug.
Yeah.
But one thing that is important to know is that, when we're talking about our product, we have enough of the ingredients in there so that it works. So when you ask about what is the daily dose, it's 2 capsules, and we recommend taking it in the morning or, before midday. But back, like say 3 years ago, you wouldn't see a 1,000 milligram or 900 milligram NMN capsule because it would be cost prohibitive. They were putting in 200 milligrams or 100 milligrams or 300 milligrams, and there's still companies that are using that amount. There are clinical trials that say it's not as effective. It's slightly effective, but the people that perform the best in these trials are using between 900 and 1,200 daily. And so that's where we found this kind of a happy medium. It was like, I think it's 600 and 1,200. Like there was this sweet spot in the middle. They were also taking 900, where like that was kind of the ideal for us. Like and cost wise, we don't want it to be a luxury product where people just can't buy it.
Right.
So that's what's important to remember. You can take all these supplements, but if they're not effective, you're just wasting your money.
Yeah. And you'd like to feel a difference with something you're taking.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're like, okay, I'm taking it because the science says it's going to be good for me, but I don't feel any different. So like, I want to feel different. How soon is it? Like, what are some of the things your clients are noticing? How soon are they noticing a shift, a change? I know that's variable and this is anecdotal,
Yeah. No,
but I think it's interesting to
it's
explore.
a really good question. And it's the one that we get asked the most. When will it work? When will it start working? When will I feel the effects? And so it's different. Everybody's different. Some people feel it right away in the first couple weeks. They feel this increase in energy, and for some people, it can take several months. It's about knowing what to look for. And it's also about, who are you? What is your current status? How is your diet? How is your exercise regimen? How old are you? If you're still young, if you're say 35 and you want to just get ahead of the game and, stop that decline and stop aging early, which we have a lot of people that, in their early 30s that take it. And we don't necessarily recommend anyone under 30 to take it. It's when your NAD starts to decline. So, but if you're young in your 30s, you might not notice it, but you also don't necessarily notice when you're taking an omega-3, fish oil, but it's good for you.
It's good for you.
Yeah. So it's kind of like it's changing the mindset and setting the expectations, but also tracking. It's really important to track, because some subtle things might happen, like an increase in energy, like you're getting up a little earlier or you're sleeping deeper. If you have like an Aura ring or something, you can track your sleep and you might notice it there. If you don't have those devices, maybe you don't know necessarily you're sleeping better.
But wake up feeling rested. That's something that I hear.
Yeah.
I wake up feeling rested now where I wasn't before.
Yeah. So it's about trying to tune into the subtle changes. And then the more profound changes are happening after 4 months, 9 months, a year. I've been tracking my story, which is it's phenomenal. Like as I get into, year 2, year 3, just some of the changes that are happening.
Like what? Tell us.
Well, a big one, I have a fun one. I'll say let's go back to cognition. At month 4, that was one of the profound changes, where I was taking information in and responding in computing speed. And I was just it was so surprised. I was like, how is this possible? And I was so impressed with myself. I was like, this is great. I like this feeling. But it was almost to a fault, because when I was interacting with other people, they weren't it was just, it wasn't that equal exchange. So I had to, I had to kind of readjust and pause and understand, oh yes, I'm actually high performing here. And so it was good to recognize that. I wrote that one down. And then at month 8, my as I age, as we know, our eyelashes and eyebrows start to thin out.
Mhm.
And I noticed that in my mid 40s. I'm just over 50 now. And in my mid 40s, I was like, I read about this and it's going to happen. So I had just a few sprigs of eyelashes on the bottom, and, like they're getting shorter. And at month 8, I remember we were going to a dinner party, and I don't wear makeup that often. So I rarely wear mascara, and I decided this one was fancy. So I was going to curl my eyelashes, and I got in the mirror. I was going to curl my little sprigs. I was like, whoa, I have full eyelashes. Well, this is
You like
amazing.
those surprises.
Yeah, and they continue to grow. They get a little longer, every month or so. So that was at month 8. So you got to track these
Yeah.
things. You got to wait for them.
Yeah.
So it's people don't wait long enough. And then I told you the hair story at like 2 years.
Mhm.
Another one is interesting, and this is where we keep getting customer feedback, is on skin conditions, eczema.
I had read about that. That
Yeah.
is, yeah, tell us about that. So the eczema, so it's helping with eczema because of the
Uh,
uh,
well, this one we're not totally sure. I mean, because I've had eczema all my life, like as bad as you can get it.
okay.
And always every 6 years or so, there's a new cream or ointment or something, because your body becomes immune to
Mhm.
something after a while. I rarely use steroids, but when the flare-ups were really bad, I'd have to turn to that, which we know is unhealthy. And so all
Right.
my life, it just on my neck and on my face and wrists and everywhere. And the social anxiety that created was terrible. It was, anybody who suffers from eczema, I hope that you can resonate with this. Like, this is not something we want to live with,
Mhm.
but it's not an immune disease, right? It's a condition
Mhm.
that is, so far, we don't have a treatment for. So at the year mark of taking younger NMN, I noticed, I'm not putting any creams on lately. I should keep my eye on this. And after about another 3 months, still nothing. Still, I'm not, it's just like, seems like it's gone. So our chief medical officer asked if I would be the guinea pig for an experiment.
Uh-huh.
And so he said, don't take anything for a month, and then introduce just one ingredient at a time over the next, course of months. And so I did that after the first month.
You stopped all your supplements?
Well,
Stopped.
yes, not all my supplements, just the younger end, where you just wanted to test younger end. I take very few supplements. I take a fish oil and a couple other things that are really kind of.
I'm gonna get you a Mighty Maca, don't you worry.
No, I know. I'm excited. I'm excited to like try all of your
Try
products.
that.
Yeah. So the first month, after a month, I don't know, maybe week 4, I noticed like the skin inflammation, no
Mhm.
rashes, but a little skin inflammation. And then I took NMN for a single month, and it kind of kept it at bay, but at like 2.5 weeks, now the rashes were coming out.
Okay, wow.
Then the 3rd month, I did only ergothioneine, which worked a little bit better
Uh-huh.
than the NMN on its own, which
Okay.
was interesting. So but it was still there. It was still there under the surface, and I could tell it was coming back there, and then in between the fingers. That's
Yeah,
where I
yeah.
noticed it, and this was where, yeah. So I told our chief medical, I'm like, I'm not willing to continue.
Mhm.
I'm going back on our supplement. And sure enough, after about 2 months, everything was gone again. And that was over 2 years ago, and I
Mhm.
still have nothing.
No eczema, no symptoms. That's
Yep. So
fascinating.
it is
No, I
fascinating.
think they think it's working on skin condition, on eczema, on inflammation.
Well, this is the combination ingredients,
Yeah,
and
the
this is,
common.
yeah. And I think ergothioneine is one of the a core reason in working in conjunction with NMN. So it's interesting, an interesting antioxidant. It's not where most antioxidants, you take them and you kind of pee them out the same day.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
but ergothioneine is different. It stays in your body for up to like 30 days, and it goes to where you need repair. It knows where to go, which is so this one is being studied for its properties on, how it works with Alzheimer's patients, Parkinson's,
Mhm.
and all these things. And now for us, because of the effect that we're seeing on these skin conditions, especially eczema, we've heard now this from, probably over a dozen customers where they're experiencing the same thing as me. This is where we start taking, these big groups of people who are saying the same thing. And then we go to preclinical trial
Mhm.
to study it and
Nice.
prove it. And so that's the next steps for us. How do we know it's working?
We're
We
studying
don't.
it.
We don't.
Right.
Yeah, we have to figure it out, because this could be a game changer.
Mhm.
If we could solve the eczema problem, there's millions of
Millions
people,
of people, yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
suffering from this.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fascinating. So it's the combination, and you can take just 2 capsules a day. And we have a link, so we'll put the link in the show notes, but it's at dranna.com/Wonderfeel. It's a product I recommend for my patients. It's one I'm taking myself, my daughters. It's like something that'd be interesting. My older daughter's in her 30s. So, I mean, it's something that can be very beneficial to help support health, immune system, and health span, which is the most important thing. Um, so how should they just start at 2 capsules a day and just
Mhm.
give it in, you know
Yeah, there's no like ease in
yeah.
period.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, and I think people will notice, the most common thing people notice is the increase in energy. So that's the first thing to look out for. Uh,
I will take it. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Wait,
yeah,
okay, can I have more? Yeah.
yeah. We could all use a little more energy
Yeah.
at this point. We have so much responsibility at this age, and this transition throws us off. So we're always missing a beat.
Yeah, we don't want to miss any more beats. And
Yeah,
and again, what's safe? And this has been studied for 20 years, the initial studies at
yeah,
well, looking at NAD and Harvard, and then the precursor to make NAD,
yeah,
NMN, and then being able to get that on a daily consistent basis
yeah.
with any side effects. I mean, were there any side effects, negative side effects or
No.
contraindications?
There's
Any
no there's no side effects. Enema has undergone numerous safety trials,
okay.
and so far it's showing there's no issues with safety. There's the side effects are not present. We need more of those studies, obviously, to study specific categories of things. That's the issue. That's the problem with clinical trials. Everybody expects, all this data when you do a clinical trial, but the problem is you can only study one thing. So like if we want to do a study on eyelash growth, we could only study why does it make eyelashes grow, not like
You can't
anything
study, right?
anything else that happens along the way. You can't document that. So you just have to keep your eye out. But the safety profile of NMN, this is something your body makes.
Yeah.
So it's not it, they're we're not introducing some foreign substance, and it's not a pharmaceutical. It's not like some huge intervention. It's just a return to what your body's used to doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then Wonderfeel, anything else we need to know about the company? I know you're continuing to do research, and you
Yeah.
have the product that we love is the NMN Younger
Yes. Younger NMN is where we encourage
combined.
people to go. That's the one that is performing. We do have another product. It's just a NMN individual ingredient. It's for people who like stackers,
Yeah.
like to create their own profile,
Stackers.
but
Yeah.
we've created a pretty good stack of our own with Younger.
Yeah.
So that's where we encourage people to go. We do have things that are on the horizon
Okay.
that are
Tell me.
super exciting, and we are just working on clearing the patent. So we can't talk about them. We
Ah,
can't talk about them,
okay.
but I can say that one of them is going to be a a huge disruptor um, to a lot of industries, and it's exciting because we want more of this. We
Mm,
want more of this. We don't want to own it. We don't want to covet it. We do want to protect it from big pharma taking it and telling us we can't make it. Right. This is the problem. This is the fight that it's a good fight that we're trying to,
we had that issue with NAC at the start of the pandemic. They were trying to take that from us. And so we've seen that.
We want to make sure
this is real, y'all.
It is real. And we want to make sure that, but these things are accessible to consumers. Like, why would we take this away from the consumers? That's the end goal anyway with healthcare is the consumer. So I just don't understand this dynamic that we're in. So we do protect the information to a point until that point which we have released it. Well, there are protections once you get there and have filed your, all the proper documentation. But we have a game changer. We have another category that's coming out that is a supplement, but it's just for a different delivery method. This is what I can tell you. And I think a lot of people will, that don't like to take capsules, for instance, might enjoy that.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So you guys will be the first to know. We'll be sure to share that information with you as it becomes available. Again, I'm very picky. You don't hear me talk about other supplements very much here on the Girlfriend Doctor Show, but when I find something that I like, that I use, I want to share it with you. So let me know if you have any questions. We've talked about NMN, NAD, the reasons to use it, some science behind it, and how it can help with longevity and lifespan. And whatever you take from this, just think, okay, what is my one next right step? It is like, know that I got to get out there and use my muscle to make more mitochondria, to get more sunlight, to get more vitamin D. Exactly. We want to age healthfully, and we want to increase the health span of us. And for me, as the matriarch of my family, it's important that I continue to have good mental faculty to do so and energy to keep up with that teenager. So that's one of the reasons why I keep digging and investigating and bringing this information to you. So let me know if you have any questions. Hit the comments. Be sure to do all those things, like, subscribe, and share this podcast episode, and check out dranna.com/Wonderfeel for the information on the product and to explore younger NMN yourself. So I thank you guys for being here. This is Dr. Anna Cabeca with Patricia Ryan, and I will see you next time. God bless y'all.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This was such a privilege to talk about this with you on your show. Your audience is so receptive.
Yes.
And I really appreciate the time.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you for coming all this way too.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching another episode of the Girlfriend Doctor podcast. Check out all the links below for more.